And the EU doesn't have a president yet, but in the Constitution, it does call for a president, which also will be not elected, it will be appointed. And you know who's been promised the presidency? Why do you think he has to convert to Catholicism? There's no way a Protestant can be president of the EU. The EU is a Catholic entity. It's not called the Club of Rome for nothing. So Tony, to become EU president, has to convert to Catholicism. There he is, just in case you've forgotten what he looked like. And he's out of the country. What is he, out in the Middle East now? Peace minister or whatever the title they call him. It's like putting King Herod in charge of the kindergarten. At least there's one good thing about it. Nobody trusts him. And Gordon Brown, of course, just desperately wanted him out of the country. Right now, I think he probably desperately wants him back in. But at the time, he didn't want to be second-guessed by Tony. So he wanted him as far away as possible. But I have this picture, which I think is a far better view of Tony, and one which I think I hope to live to see one day. There's no question, this guy's a war criminal of the first order. The whole team of them. Alistair Campbell, there's another war criminal. Alistair Campbell very definitely has the blood of David Kelly on his hands, one way or another. And Tony, of course, just lied through the whole of his tenure. So, what we have is the Soviet state of Great Britain. You may or may not be aware, but Jackie Smith, there's not a statesman in this current government at all. It's remarkable. But Jackie Smith, within 1 week of being appointed Home Secretary, signed a piece of legislation that gave access to more non-government agencies to the personal lives of everybody in this country than the KGB ever had at the height of the Soviet Empire. And by the way, let me tell you that the loss of these discs may actually be good news. It may be good news. I know this sounds really perverse, but the ID cards, the biometric ID cards were coming down the track so fast that the loss of these discs has proven that basically these guys cannot be trusted with basic data. So don't look on this as totally negative. Somebody may be doing us a big favour here. The media are putting out, you see, this is the thing, the media are telling everybody, the media are saying, we were promised a referendum, but you're not going to give us one. And what the media will do, and you won't hear Brown actually mention this subject, because what the media will do is they will push this and push this and push this. And when there is no reaction from the public, then Brown will just take it as a mandate to sign us into the EU, and that'll be it, done and dusted. And we may have seen the last elections where it's possible to include in your manifesto any nationalistic policy. Because under the EU Constitution, it will be illegal for any political party to campaign or have within its manifesto any nationalistic ambitions. Which, of course, effectively, overnight makes the Welsh nationalists, the Scottish nationalists, the BNP, some might argue that's not a bad thing, but it will make any party that campaigns on the basis of nationalism effectively illegal. Even the Sun. It makes a change for the Sun to actually have words on the front cover, but never have so few decided so much for so many. And earlier, I think it was this week, Trevor Kavanagh, who, I've been saying for many years that this guy is the most important political commentator in the country. He's Australian. But he is Murdoch's political man writing for the Sun. 13 million people a day read or at least skim on what this guy has to say in terms of political comment. And in this article, which I think I have a copy of it here if anybody wants to look at it, in this article he's basically saying, my God, aren't the British people waking up to what's occurring? Now I don't believe that he for 1 minute wants to stop, nor does his boss, Murdoch, want to stop it. What they're doing is they're just testing the water. And they're saying, how far can we push these people? And there's no reaction, of course. The New World Order. What is the objectives of the New World Order? One world government, one world economy, one world religion, theirs, and the population of less than 1 billion people. And you think, well, that's ridiculous, that's not going to happen. But let me tell you, there are organisations, and they're becoming even more open about this goal to reduce the population. I just want to flag up this, because this is very significant. The Club of Rome is effectively an inner group within the Bilderbergers were a spin-off of the Club of Rome. But this is, the people who sit on this think tank are deep within the inner workings. And this particular report is the first ever mention that I can find of global warming. Now read this very carefully, because in searching for a new enemy to unite us, because this was written immediately after the fall of the Soviet Empire, so the Cold War was ostensibly over. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers are caused by human intervention. And then this wonderful payoff line at the bottom, the real enemy then is humanity itself. The whole idea of these guys, their agenda, these guys are very, very cute, they're very smart, take nothing away from them, they know their game, they're very good at it, they've had many years to practice. So what they do is they come up with stuff like this to keep us chasing our tail. And basically keep us sort of focused. I mean, all this green stuff. Oh, by the way, the press said that I'm a green campaigner. I'm not a green campaigner. I'm a campaigner for truth and political integrity. No, I'm not a green in any way. I'm about choice and honesty. And what these guys are making very clear is that they will come up with an agenda that keeps people locked into this vicious cycle. And we can tax them for it. We can come up with all these green taxes. I mean, this stuff about peak oil, I mean, the DVD of the talk that I gave here a few weeks ago on peak oil will be available very shortly. But look at the evidence. Look at the backlog of aircraft. Look at what the oil companies are doing. Peak oil, at best, is 50, 100 years away. What I'm talking to you about tonight is 2.5 years away and less. This wonderful piece of work, Dr. Eric Pianka, professor of zoology at the University of Texas in Austin, and he made a speech less than 2 years ago, and he said, basically the top scientist gave a speech, the Texas Academy of Science, in which he advocated the need, listen carefully, to exterminate 90% of the population through the airborne Ebola virus. Dr. Pianka's chilling comments and their enthusiastic reception again underscore the elite's agenda to enact horrifying measures of population control. And this guy got a standing ovation. And just in case anybody's in any doubt, this henge is called the Georgia Guidestones. And it manifested mysteriously in 1980. And on it, there's, I think, 12 objectives, and they're carved out in 12 languages. I'm not going to go through all the objectives, but you might be interested in a couple of them, because the top one says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Under 500 million. Now, at least Pianka said 1 billion. I mean, these guys are going to 500. I mean, that's... The US population is 300 million right now. So these guys are talking about whoever manifested these stones mysteriously 27 years ago is talking about 500 million people. And then the next one is guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Where did we last hear that? Oh, Mein Kampf. We're talking the same agenda. The same agenda. The SS was known as the Brotherhood of Death. Skull and Bones is known as the Brotherhood of Death. And so are the Jesuits.